Will you be absolutely genuine with me? No deception, please. I want you to do something that expresses you without the slightest deception.
Season 2 of Genuity begins today. And before I begin to introduce my co-host, I have to say that this is my closest friend. This is somebody that has gotten to watch me go through many different phases in my own journey, from my lowest points of depression, my points of suicide, my healing journey. He's gotten to watch me go in and out of multifaceted different areas of my life. He's seen me go in and out of different jobs. He has helped me become the person that I am today. He is part of the main reasons of how I was introduced into even understanding who God is, what God could be to me. And even though I fought him on that journey for a long time, this is somebody who never gave up on me. And before I introduce him and I have had this relationship since COVID, where we did grow up together, but we were never very close. And he reached out to me at the right time, and we were able to help each other through the last 6 years of our life. And I contribute a lot of who and what I am today to this man sitting next to me. And this is, for me, one of the most fulfilling, purposeful, and possibly rewarding endeavors emotionally, mentally, and spiritually I could ever be on with him. We wanted to do this years ago, and now that we're able to do this together, I could not be happier. So next to me running this podcast is my boy Marshall. This is my boy. He is way more than just good looks and height. This is somebody who has an incredible amount of wisdom and knowledge and life experience. And the whole purpose of this podcast, we're really going to tap into mental health, God, faith, being our own alchemist, transmuting pain to purpose, creating purpose for ourselves, finding our way in life, what it is to struggle, the beauty of struggles, and anything that comes in along that journey. And I just want to say thank you before he opens his mouth for doing this together. And I am so happy, and I love you more than anything in the world, dog. And like, doing this with you is the best thing that I've ever done in my life.
Love you, brother. Thank
I love you too, dog.
Cheers, brother. Yeah, thank you, brother. I don't really, it's a good follow-up. We did a lot. We've done a lot together. He actually called me. Well, I called you to ask you about a job, and he told me it was brutal. So he was like, don't do this job, man. I don't think it's good for you. I noticed something in his voice. Told him to come by the house. We talked for a couple hours. He swung by the house. And then, and then we became boys. I saw something in you that, was dark, and I approached it because I just went through something myself. And then, we kind of grew through that pain.
I think it's funny because I think a lot of people meet each other at the same pain frequency that they're at. And even though we weren't at the same level at that time, I think you had started to actually come out of yours.
Yeah.
And I was so cemented and buried into mine. And at the time where you did meet me, which I don't even know if you and I actually ever really went over this, it was right after my own suicide attempt. So
no, I didn't. I didn't know that. Yeah.
And it was in a moment where I was going through trouble at work, trouble in my relationship, which is the same trouble that you faced to a certain degree. And it was being angry that I was still even alive. And you, even though you saw all that darkness inside of me, you still saw something in me that I was unaware of, that I had a capacity and a capability for, and something which I've seen you do with other people in your life is pull light out of them. And I think one of the gifts that you've been given and that you've been able to utilize very well is constantly pulling greatness out of people without them realizing what's actually inside of them.
Or just, being grateful for the things we do have instead of shining light on all the things that we don't. And I think that's the biggest problem I've struggled with, is that I focus on, or have focused on, things that are not the best, and but I don't. But then I look at myself and I look at what God has given me, and I'm like, how dare I sit back and say, how I'm not the person who's blessed. I'm the victim. I'm a terrible, this is terrible. It's happening to me. Why God? Why this? God is not there to test you. God does not test you. And at the end of the day, I think we need to be the people that look towards the light and say, I woke up today, man, God's given me so much. You know, I'm living, I'm breathing. And on the level that we're at, people pray every single day that they could get out of bed, that they could walk, that they could be happy. And, you know, we complain over such frivolous things that are so, like, not important in the grand scheme of things, right? And sometimes I feel like that's pathetic that I could get up in the morning and not thank God and not be grateful and not be blessed. I mean, like, how selfish. So, you know, if I could project that message to people, you know, and try to help even one person in this journey we're on right now, then I think I've done my job.
So let me ask you a question. And like I said, I wasn't going to ask questions. I'm just going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many people have an issue with being able to just understand the simplicity of being grateful in life? Because you've been there, of being ungrateful and masking your pain in all different types of extra endeavors. I've been there by trying to take my own life and also masking my pain in a bunch of my own afflictions, right? So we know why we, at least, were in the position that we're in. Why were you, what is your opinion on why so many people today struggle to find that ease of being grateful in the situation that they're in, even when there are things around them that are going so completely off and wrong?
I think it's an entitlement that we have that we don't realize that we have. I'm in a unique situation where I'm completely isolated. Like, we met we didn't meet. We started talking during COVID, and when I was in COVID, you know, I don't have any family in New York or around, and I was completely isolated. And I think God has given me the gift of being able to see all the times He's helped me. And what I mean by that is there's been nobody to come forward and be like, hey, Marshall, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, get back up. And, you know, I was just banging myself over the head, trying to maybe drink myself away or party and just not face myself. But eventually, you know, you end up facing yourself, and a lot of people are surrounded by family, they're surrounded by friends, and they have distractions that become, you know, crutches. And people, oh, don't worry, you got it good, this and that. But no, like, you have to worry, you have to face yourself, you have to eventually know yourself. And I think the only way to know yourself is complete and utter isolation, you know, self-hate, to the point where you turn to God and you're like, I have nothing but God. And I don't mean to say I have nothing, because having God is
having everything.
And He's always been there. And I think why I have overcome these situations is because I've looked at all the scenarios I was in, trying to take my life, driving off the road, hitting a tree, going 90 miles per hour, opening my eyes and being like, why am I still here? Well, God loves me. He's got a purpose for me. And I truly don't know my purpose, but I could tell you lots of people like you have come to me, and we've discussed things that I've helped people through. God has used me as a messenger to help people. And what an absolute blessing that He can give me a voice that could change people. And I think noticing that in myself and overcoming through with just God by my side, with nobody else but just God talking to me, has been why I found healing. And I think a lot of people need to be isolated, really, at the end of the day.
I think that isolation makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think in discomfort you grow.
Well, you can't grow without some level of actual bearing down weight on yourself. So you need that level of, you need to get uncomfortable. You need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right. And it's funny that you bring up this message, like a living message. You know, I've come to you a bunch of times because there's times where you and I have conversations in private, and you say things at times which bother me, right? Because it comes off,
that's true.
It comes off not self-limiting, but almost like you're not fully aware as to the anointing and the covering and the gifts that God himself has truly given to you. And given us. And that's the thing. You and I both have become living, breathing messages. Like I am not this podcast. I am not my title at work and my neuropsychopathy work. I'm none of that. I am a child of God. And I am a living, breathing message that now I am here to get as close as I can to divinity and spread out the same light that God has intended to allow for all of us to experience. And the whole thing is, I think you and I equally have been disruptors. And it's an interesting word, right? Like, what is a disruptor? It's not like you and I are walking into a place and intentionally causing chaos in people's life. We are meant to disrupt what is uncomfortable in other people's lives. And lightness, which you and I exude out of the cracks in our body from the things that we've been through, lightness by its very nature makes darkness uncomfortable. And that's what I mean by being disruptors. You and I walk into a certain situation or into a certain environment. You and I make people very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we've noticed that, and I'm perfectly fine with it because I know that what's trailing me is not only the favor and the presence of God having his hand on me, but it's the lightness and the agency that I now carry with me because of the scars that I've been able to have on my back and bring forth that message and bring forth my calling from divinity to give to those around me.
Well, people think, they judge you and they assume you don't have scars. So, what could be seen as somebody who has it all together or a pretty face without scars. People refuse to look within. And then so you automatically get judged. And I think that's the surprise with us. I think when people talk to us, they're like, oh, this is a real person. And I've been humbled over and over to get to where I am today. And I got a lot of work to do, a lot of work to do. And I'm not holding myself higher than anybody, and I never would. I just think that I view God as somebody who looks at me and says, I'm trying to give you a chance, and I want you to be my messenger, and I want you to help people. So I think humility is key, going back to, why people don't see the light within them. You got to be humble, and you can't be a victim. Those are just two things. Don't be a victim, be humble, and just, know that you're chosen. God chose me today. I woke up today. There's people who love me. I'm healthy, I'm breathing. Somebody complimented me. Stop focusing on, something that happened 3 years ago. Stop feeling bad for yourself. What a shame that we feel bad for ourselves when God chooses us day in and day out. You know what I mean? I feel like I get the chills when I talk about God. I get the goosebumps because, man, he really saved my life so many times. And I've questioned him and been like, are you real? Show me, take my life. What's wrong with you? And he's never turned his back on me. And I mean, what a blessing. What a blessing. And then, I've met someone in my life who led me more towards God. And then me and you went on that journey. We got baptized together. And
just got the chills. That was the best day of my life.
Yeah, that was amazing. We got baptized together and then went and ate chicken wings for about
fried chicken wings. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And
in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it was good. And but yeah, I mean, I think that if you really can step back from the life that you've lived and look at all the pain that's inside of you and all the things that have happened to you, and you note that something or someone has gotten you through it, then you have God standing next to you, and there's no doubt. And what do people always say? Oh, well, God isn't, is God real? God's not real. How could he let children get sick? Or how could he let God doesn't test? And you're doing exactly what the devil wants you to do. He wants you to turn your back on God because that kid got sick.
He wants you to question.
Right. And in Isaiah, it talks about, you'll never understand that because God's ways are higher than our ways, as the heavens are higher than the earth. And you'll never understand why he does that because you're riddled with sin since the day you were born. So you think you're going to understand what God's doing? I don't. And I how dare you even claim that claim? Right? So, I think he's been with me since day one. I should be somewhere I'm not. I'm grateful for what I have. I don't need more, but I do want to help people, and hopefully my word can do so. And if it can't, I'm going to keep going and going until I help at least one person.
Then your message is not for them.
It's not for them.
You told me once that not everybody is my mission.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me because, especially in my line of work, I can't help everybody, bro. You're going to have people that watch this, and no matter what message we deliver, somebody will have something negative to say.
Yeah, God hardens the hearts of some.
Exactly. You know, you said something about people need to look inside and reflect on the pain. And this is where a lot of what I see with people who are biblically illiterate or just God illiterate, who don't realize that the word and the book, it never promises you a good life. Right. It promises you a life of suffering and of worthy suffering and of leaning on nothing but your own devotion and love towards God to get you through that suffering. Yeah. And I think a lot of the issues and a lot of the suffering that people face is not from what they actually go through. It's from the attachments towards the suffering because they don't look at it as something for a higher purpose. When you look at multiple scripture and you look at multiple verses within the Bible, you have Romans 8:18, right? Our present sufferings are not worthy of comparing to the glory that is going to be revealed to us. You have Romans chapter 5, verse 3 through 5, for we rejoice in our sufferings. Suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. Character, hope. Each of those verses do what? They promise you a suffering. They promise you a life of trials, of obstacles, of tribulations, of hardship. They promise you that you will endure a low point in your life, but that each thing that you go through, depending on how much you choose to lean on God and you choose to show face and be the light that God has intended you to be, then the suffering is not going to be what actually breaks you down. Your own attachment to the suffering is what's going to kill you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think most people wind up getting a lot of these issues that they're stuck with because they don't understand that we are born to suffer. You can't have a great character without suffering. The cost of one is always the price of the other. And I think that's where a lot of the issues stem from internally with a lot of people now.
Yeah, I mean that's nailed right on the head. It's we have this like attachment issue to our pain, and then we like just keep circling it, and instead of actually like digging in and trying to heal that, we build the scar tissue around it. Yeah. We keep building it and building it. And then by the time that we want to heal it, we have to scrape it out. And I truly think what happens is people get so far in their hearts get so hardened from just, sitting on whatever that problem that happened in their life is. And they just focus on that for so many years that it's just part of their DNA, and they can't heal from that. And usually it's not that big of a thing. And I don't mean to downplay something that's major in somebody's life, I've lost a lot of people in my life, and it's not that it's not a big thing, but if you could take the lesson out of it, that's beautiful. If you could say, why did they die in front of me? Why did God hit me with this hard of a message? Mm-hmm. He must have hit me with this hard of a message because I was hard to get through. My heart was hard. And so what a blessing that you could take me down. But I owe it to you to stand back up and still believe in you and pray to God. And I think that is, that's a big message in the Bible. Just, you're going to get knocked down, get back up. And I think most people that are, biblically illiterate, that's like the 100% most of the problem, right? Like right. Everybody who's talking about, well, I don't believe in this, they've never read the New or Old Testament. They've never went to church, or if they went to one of these like mega churches, and it was more of a social thing. Yep. And they're like, well, why this, why that? It's like, read it. It's the only book or only thing that you judge without reading. Like no one's going to take a Harry Potter book and say, well, this, I start talking about it. Like, you know what I mean? And like they know what's going on in the book. No, but seriously, like I'm not going to start judging this until I open it and read it. And you don't know anything about it, but you say life is this and this happened to me. So how can God be real? Well, how illiterate, how ignorant, how dumb are you? You're going to insult the Creator. And at the end of the day, not even science can tell you how we were created, things that happen to us, the meaning of things that are happening to us, why they're happening to us, and I think at the end of the day, if you can be the kind of person who has faith and at bare minimum say thank you for the things that break you down, because in the long run it's going to build you up if you have the strength, which you do, if you choose to use the strength, then everything's a blessing.
Well, that's the thing. Everything always comes down to that simple choice.
Right.
Like you said, that these subjective traumatic events, whether big or small, they become ingrained in their DNA, right? And they start creating these attachments, these identities out of what they have went through.
Right.
The only identity that we have, the only one that we truly have, we are a child of God. We are not our trauma. We are not the things that happen to us. We are not our alcohol problem. So one of the things, by the way, and this is probably going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, and I'm just going to say it anyway because I got to say what I got to say. It's why I despise Alcoholics Anonymous. It's why I despise these 12-step programs, because you go there and they dictate and they mandate that you have to create this identity of having a problem. I am an alcoholic. I am a drug addict.
They do introduce God in those programs.
They do, but you still have to have an identity to the affliction that you suffered from, which in and of itself pulls you away from the true identity that you actually are, which is being a child of God.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's my own interpretation there, because we become attached to what we are telling ourselves that we are. The brain is not going to discern or decipher between one thing we're telling it and another. If we're being pulled in two directions, then we're not really being flowed into one, which is actually our discipleship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. You become the victim. You're always an addict, even if you're not drinking.
Exactly. You know, so you never actually get, it's why so many addicts just in general have a hard time forgiving themselves or feeling worthy, you know, because you look at a lot of what's happening is there's this sense of I don't feel worthy, and God is up there going, okay, that's because you're measuring your worth by your lack of value that you've displayed over your years and not by his mercy. And when you truly lean on his mercy, you're not going to judge yourself by the value that you did not have or show up for a couple of years, because you already know and understand that your value was already paid for by Jesus dying on the cross.
Right. And I don't, and we're not worthy. You know what I mean?
We're not.
And at the end of the day,
and accepting that is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you know, it is up to God to choose whether we get into heaven or hell. And it's actually funny because, you know, so many people live their lives, you know, like, I'm going to do this checklist and this and that. But God knows your true intentions, right? So, you know, you see God at the pearly gates and your whole intention was to get into heaven. It wasn't to do what's right. It was to get that trophy at the end of the day.
Right.
And, you know, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think that you're going to get in just because you have a checklist. You know, I think you get in because your intentions are pure, because you love, because you forgive, because the people around you, you don't judge, because, you know, you're genuinely good. But none of us really are genuinely good. We're riddled with sin.
Correct.
You know, we have all had our moments. But I could tell you at this point in my life that my intentions are pure with anybody I come across. I could tell you I've had thoughts where I've been like, you know, that's not right, and I push it out. But that took a lot of pain and training.
Yeah.
That took a life of pain, maybe 2 lifetimes.
Yep.
And but I think a lot of people follow this religion as a way to get into, you know, this beautiful heaven and into this idea they have, you know, that I have a checklist, I get here. It's like, no. It's not it. And that's Romans 14. You know, people judge, people follow like strict guidelines, and then they judge another person and they say, well, you don't do this, so you're going to get into hell. And it says, how dare you? Yeah. How dare you look at another believer and say that he's looking at me and he's what's the word I'm looking for? He's honoring me wrong. He's worshiping me wrong. He thinks don't eat that chicken or that pork. He thinks that that's the way to honor God. Well, guess what? He's honoring God. How dare you judge him? Yep. He's doing it for a different purpose than you believe, and that's fine. That's fine. But I think people judge so much, and I think that's just a projection on how they try to get off all their pain and put it on somebody else. And when you're truly happy, you're not going to judge. You just want everyone to be happy. When you have money, you want another person to have money with you. People are weird like that. You know, they want to be the only one that gets into heaven. Yep. They want to be the only one who has money. Like, I want everyone to be at the top with me because it's boring at the top if you just have money, you know what I mean? And all your friends are there, and now you're the one paying for all the bills, getting resentment at dinner instead of, you know what I mean?
Gratitude and appreciation.
Yeah, and humility.
And I'm not even going to wind up quoting this verse because I'm going to botch it, but in the book of Matthew, he talks about Jesus saying that there are people here who have this checklist that you spoke about. Right? Yeah. This checklist of, have I not praised in your name? Have I not honored you? Have I not done the worship? And when they get into heaven because they did not follow the narrow path, Jesus will look at them and say, "Begone from me, you doer of iniquity." And that's the problem, is that we are so, not we, right, but people in general, us as people, us as human beings, we are so quick to judge everyone based off of the actions that they clearly show us externally. Right? So if somebody steals something, if somebody kills somebody, if somebody is visceral in how they approach and how they communicate, fine, we'll judge that. Most people will. But what God judges, what the Lord judges, is what goes on in your heart that we cannot see as human beings. And those are the iniquities. What idols do you have? Right. Where do you hold your value? Where do you hold your worth? Who do you actually go to and lean on when times are hard? Are you going toward your spouse, or are you going to God? Are you holding money in a sense of idolship, or are you actually holding the Lord himself? And that's a lot of the problem with these checklists, is they think and they feel that they're doing the right thing. And when judgment day comes and they have to now actually answer and understand that this perfect life that they thought they lived was the polar opposite. I am marred. I am flawed. And that makes me perfect in my own way, because I am fully aware of that. And my lack of perfection, understanding that I'm not perfect, makes God's love for me undyingly perfect, because I'm willing to repent. I'm willing to acknowledge my downfalls, my sins, my struggles, my hardship, the times where I do step out of alignment. Even though I've done the work of healing, I struggle day in and day out.
Absolutely.
But that's what gets us into his judgment. Prayer is the highest level of love and devotion that you can offer God at the end of the day. That's what gets you into heaven. I could steal something tomorrow. Real talk. I could go rob a bank. But you know what? If I truly repent and I really understand that my action was wrong, and I do the work and I make myself a true child of God, and I make sure that my repentance, I feel like you're about to have a rebuttal, and I feel like my repentance is one of actual truth, Jesus is going to take me and love me regardless. You look at him hanging on the cross. What happened? The dude next to him was a murderer, was he not?
And a thief.
And a thief. Do not forget me when you go into heaven. And he said, I will meet you there, my guy.
Did he say that?
In so many words.
That's crazy.
I will meet you there, my guy.
Yeah. I'm not sure I remember reading. Yeah. But I think, and I think that's funny you bring that up, because, you know, I had trouble looking at sin as a whole. Like, you know, God doesn't think one sin is less. You could lie, it's just as bad as murdering. You could steal, it's just as bad as this, that. And I was like, there's no way. You know what I mean? Because on our level, on our playing field, it's like, murdering is way worse. Yeah, that's like human, law.
Yep.
But he's like, you sin. You know what I mean? You're just a sinner.
Yep.
Like, so, that's a hard pill to swallow, that a thief is just as bad as a murderer. You know what I mean?
Or a murderer is just as bad as somebody who's an adulterer. You know what I'm saying? In God's eyes, it's not the level of sin. Sin is sin. It's how do you now show up in your heart of hearts and soul of soul to lean on God, to repent for that sin and take accountability for that sin.
And do you mean it?
Because here's the thing. If I don't want to lie anymore,
sure,
and every day I wake up and I keep repeating the same lie over and over and over and over, am I really repenting?
Right.
And am I really walking the walk and speaking and talking the talk that I truly say that I am? Because you might look at me and not realize that I'm lying.
I think it's worse.
That's what I'm saying.
What do they say? You're just insulting.
They say, and again, I don't know the exact quote off the top of my head, but in the book of Matthew, he talks about that the worst kind of lie is the truth with a little bit of deception. So you can't discern between what's real and what's not.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's manipulation at its finest.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's unbelievable. I think people I think people lie, and they think a white lie might be, less of a sin than this grandiose, like, big lie that's hurting people. And I guess, like, in a way, like, if it doesn't hurt somebody, like, oh, I bought you this instead of that, like, just be honest, or don't say it all, you know. And everyone struggles with that, man. I struggle with that, like, just trying to be perfect, because it'll never happen.
There is no perfection.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if I could just be less of a sinner every single day, I could thank God what I have. I could look at my blessings. I think He'll reward me every single day more and more. And where I've come from, who I was, I mean, people are probably going to watch this and be like, who is that guy? You know what I mean? So,
Marshall? First off, you don't know Marshall.
At all.
So don't grow partial.
So they're going to, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes opening. But that's because I think a lot of us wear a mask who are in, the most pain. And that's why, comedians have the worst stories. They're always like some severe pain, and they mask it with laughter. And the funniest people in the world are always, the riddled with the most pain.
Of course.
Most scars. And, I think that's the case with me. I think I have a lot of scars, and I've worn a mask for so long, and I've been the person at the party who everyone wants there because they want to just be energy vampires and just take everything I got, and I let them. It's my fault. I let them. But I didn't want to show who I really was, because the pain inside of me, I don't know if I was embarrassed or I didn't think people would understand, but it was just so easy to lie.
Yeah.
And that's what comes full circle. I was lying about who I was every single day. Every day. So I was lying every day. I was going out, putting a smile on, this and that. And I think that insults God. I think He wants you to learn from the pain, or He wouldn't have put you through it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So why does He want you to learn? Maybe to save others, or be the messenger to save others. I don't know. Like I said, my way, His ways are not my ways. He's higher than me. He'll always be. But I can be the messenger and show the pain now in my life. And I can tell you it's brought a lot better people around me.
Yeah.
Than, being the life of the party, having 5,000 friends calling you just to hang out, just to go out. Because they knew you'd say yeah, because they knew you were going through it. And they still were like, you know what, he's going to come out. That pain wants to party. And guess what?
You partied.
I wanted to party.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
So, but I didn't. I just didn't want to be alone with myself. So it wasn't about partying. It was about hiding and lying. And I was a compulsive liar in the sense that I was never who I really was. And, what a sin for God to create you as this being that could change the world with His voice, and you just hide it from everybody with the mask. I mean, that's a slap in the face, isn't it?
100%.
And that's what brings me here. I don't care if people judge me and they know my past and who I was. I really don't. But sometimes you got to put your face on, your real face on, step up, chest out, chin up, and just say, God, like, here I am, and world, do your worst, because I'm not in love with the earthly things anymore. We've gone so far beyond that. The worldly things, like cars, this and that. Sometimes I see people and they're like, you spend the last dollar to rent the Rolls Royce. Like, oh, you know how much better you'll feel if you're sitting at a room at a table, people who genuinely
love you.
Like,
I want to see you succeeded with.
Yeah, man. And I was there recently in Delray with people who just like loved me. And I don't know if I never felt my grandfather. I felt that so much, but so young to appreciate it. And now when you feel it, you're like, wow, like you tiptoe and like you're stepping on eggshells, and then you just are yourself and they just appreciate and love you. And that's the blessing. I mean, to notice that, the pain helped me notice that, and I feel bad for the people who have to hide to be the life of the party, or who need the watch. They have everything in the world, but everybody around them is fake. And I feel bad for you. And I really hope that those people step forward and say, listen, this is who I really am. Show me yourself. And those demons that surround you every day will wash away down the river, and you'll even if it's 3 people you're surrounded by that love you. That feels like the warmest blanket on the coldest night, doesn't it?
It feels like 3,000.
Oh, man.
Because listen, you have me and you, for example. It doesn't matter what time of day, whether it's 3 a.m, 11 o'clock at night. If we text one another and we're like, hey, dude, I really need you to show up for me right now, there's never a question why.
No.
Sometimes.
Why would there be?
But there never is.
Why would there
And
be?
sometimes you and I will just hit each other up, hey, can we hang out? And we know the other one is hurting, and we don't need to talk about it. It's the presence.
Right.
It is being in each other's energy and presence and knowing that God is there between us. And that's, people ask questions like, well, how do you know God's real? Well, two reasons, right? One, for me, I know what my life was like without him, and I know what my life is like with him.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I am a living, breathing testament of how he's real. And number 2, you can't measure love. You can't value love and weigh out love and create a scale to understand it.
We can't even.
It's an
fathom
intangible,
what his
but
love
that love is what God is, that feeling, that level of presence that you're able to feel when you're down in Florida with that family, the feeling that I have with you, the feeling I have with my mother, that's God. That's God speaking through us and using us as a vessel in order to spread what his message and what our purpose here is. Because love is the one thing that
That's
makes
the reward.
That's what makes this world work, dog.
Yes, yeah.
And the whole thing that you said about holding on to this pain and being alone and reflecting on the pain, right? When you were going through your whole years of masking yourself and being a liar, and I relate to that. What people fail to understand is that we are blessed more by our blisters and by the hardships, the obstacles, the trials, the tribulations, and by the seasons of torment than we are by any type of success story or fiscal reward. We are shaped and molded and refined deeper by our hardships, but than by the things that we've truly been blessed by in our life. The real blessing is within the pain. The storms that have come to break me, the scars that I wear on my back, on my soul, and my spirit, when the fire came to burn me, I know that God stood in that fire with me and is like, yo, dog, this is your training ground. Let's use it now. And now that whole refinement process no longer turned into this season of definement where I was my trauma or I was my scars. Now my scars are more altars to where it shows that hell couldn't have me and God got me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the reason now, like where we were going before, it's why you and I walk with different agency. It's why you and I walk with different intention. It's why you and I walk and speak in a different caliber. It's why you and I are able to show up into places and be able to say nothing but still have our energy heal those around us. It's why we are so easy to be judged, because again, we are not going to discern where we spread our light to. A magnet does not differentiate between the metals it picks up. So we're going to attract light and dark no matter where we go. And people are going to be uncomfortable in the presence of those who truly feel that they have weathered their storms and been anointed by their afflictions and their authenticity to get over them. I just want to shake somebody with what I just said. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
It's a problem for people to genuinely be grateful for those seasons of torment, for those seasons of lying, for the seasons of whether you are philandering or being an adulterer or committing suicide or spending all your money and putting yourself in $40,000 of debt because jewelry and Rolexes
Right.
and the things that I idolized at the time were so much more important than just being able to sit with myself and say, okay, this isn't going to make me happy. This is filling a void. Where does that void come? A lack of God.
Yeah, of course. God's all you need, all you'll ever need. And, once you start, it's funny, I started, like on my journey, I started listening to the Bible on, remember when I was doing those walks? I was doing like during COVID, I was doing like 7-mile walks a day. And I had nothing else going on. So I was like, what's the purpose of all this? I haven't talked to anybody. I don't think I've said a word in 4 days, you know, and I was like, let me just put the Bible on and just walk. And I listened to those audiobooks, and I was like, there'd be different parts that would pop out to me, and I'd be like, wow, you know, like it was almost like I was deaf to certain parts, and then there was parts that really popped up and like hit me, and I kept listening. I listened to it like 3 times, the Bible, and I remember I'd be in the gym, and I had to remember we were talking about
Stairmaster. You're sitting there huffing and puffing. Talk. I got the Book of James on.
And I couldn't genuinely. I could not lift or train without listening to it. Like music became
ick.
Like ick. I started like hearing like the disgust in it. Yes, you know, people call that being saved. I don't know where I am right now as far as if God thinks I'm saved or, you know, what have you, but I could tell you like there's definitely moments where I can't listen to that song, and then I'm listening to, you know, certain types of music, or I have to be on the Stairmaster and I have to be like, you know, I want to listen to Isaiah, which is, you know, like strange, you know what I mean?
But it's not though.
But it would have been too,
yes,
if you talk to 25-year-old Marshall, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But if things pop out to you and God speaks to you through that, you know, that's the living word. And I don't think people understand that. It's like, here's this instruction manual on how to get through life. You're going to walk through life. I have an instruction manual. It's right here. It's sitting right here. But you're so just hardened that you won't open it up and read, what direction am I supposed to go in? You know, what are we doing here? What am I supposed to do? You know, that is your purpose. It's in there. It tells you, and that will give you the direction to wherever God wants you to go if you just read it. You know, Old Testament, New Testament, whatever it is, just read it. And then whatever pops out to you, that's the direction you go. Blindly, trust God. Just blindly go, you know? And like, it took me so long to get there. So I understand why people don't understand what I'm saying. And it took me trying to take my life. It took me day in and day out drinking or like laying in bed, not talking to anybody, being completely isolated, not feeling loved, feeling like people were using me, watching the person I love most in this world die day in, day out in front of me in the ER, and just breaking down, like smiling all day, getting in the shower and just crying for half an hour, you know? And after all that, I was like, what are you crying for? What is wrong with you?
How dare you?
Right? How dare you? No, how dare you? Seriously, because people have it so much worse, and you're being a victim because you had a little loss. You're not a little loss, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a lesson. It's not a loss. And my pain I weaponized it. You know what I mean? I took the mask off, I threw it, and I weaponized the pain, and I didn't become the pain. I used it to show me what direction to go, and used it to help people who hadn't maybe experienced that, and try to warn them or teach the people who had the same pain that there is another side to this. You can come to me. I am the other side to this. God's using my words to teach you. I'm the other side. I'm showing you I'm okay. I did that. I'm okay. You know, and there's a lot we'll probably talk about as this goes on. But I've been through some bad stuff. You know what I mean? The worst of the worst. And in that pain, or that moment, I didn't think that I was ever going to recover. And I tried not to recover, and God just didn't let me. You know, he was like, you know, not today. But yeah, he just kept pushing me, and I'd test myself. You know, I'd go out. There's been days I should have died, pushed my body to the just to the limit. You know, just bones and a raw emotion, and I didn't know who I was. Falling into just
oceans and off boats.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that. Thanks for bringing that up. And you know, now I am who I am today, and you know, finally do something good with it is another blessing. Thank you, God, for that. You know what I mean?
You said something so important, and you said something about opening up the book and allowing God's purpose and will to be done through you. And I think the most important thing that people need to understand, if they choose to open the book, if they choose to read,
You can go a lifetime without.
if they choose to actually understand, like you said, that they have life's manual in front of them, the most important thing, pain is inevitable. Pain is fundamental. Suffering is our choice to alchemize that pain and use it for his purpose, use it for God's will, use it for God's strength, to pull greatness and glory out of our own life. And the whole thing about God using you for his purpose, not for our desire, but for his purpose. He's already authored and created your story. There are going to be times where maybe you pray, like me, for a pair of Gucci shoes, right? And God's going to give you a pair of hiking.
Trash.
Gucci is trash. God's going to give you a pair of hiking shoes instead, because you're not aware that you're about to get a mountain in front of you that you're going to have to trek and you're going to have to climb, and he's purposely not going to move it.
Right.
And now you're stuck with these shoes that you didn't want and that you didn't know were necessary. That was a gift from God who's really helping you, like you having somebody close to you die, like me watching people in front of me die as well, like us trying to take our own life, like all of my addictions over the years, like the times where I've drowned my pain with certain things. Every time God handed me a permission slip, say, here you go, bud, go heal, and I'm looking at it as a punishment, I wound up doing more damage because I pulled myself away from the glory and the gospel that he was trying to create out of my life, because I kept choosing comfort every time. And when people realize that we are meant to be stretched and pulled and torn and used for his will and not our flesh desires, then you will actually be able to wind up truly engaging in your life's purpose, and I believe heal.
Yeah. I mean, all that pain does really is that he's continually reminding you of your mortality, you know, and I think it's the people who fall the furthest, you know, who are given everything from a young age, who have that feeling of immortality, and then it just hits them one day, like everything falls apart, and they have no idea how to recover. But if you're broken every day, you get a ball thrown at you from day one, a metal ball takes you out, boom, and day 2, day 3, and something happens, you get another
Swift kick in the nuts.
Swift kick in the nuts, dude. A real swift and real hard. And that keeps happening to you. It's like, you know how to heal. You know, like, you know it's going to be okay. And I think it's so important to know that it's going to be okay. No matter what happens, it's going to be okay if you have that faith. And yeah, certain things feel like they're not going to be okay, but God wouldn't have given that to you, that or done. He doesn't do it. He doesn't test anybody. Let's get that straight. But he wouldn't have made you the person you are if you couldn't get over what was about to be handed to you, because he knows. And
he only gives you the things that are within your capacity and capability to endure.
Right. So the stronger you are, you know, the harder the battle. Right. So, and we all know that, right? But do we actually understand that? Do you understand that I'm taking everything away from you because you're supposed to change the world? Do you know that? You know, because you're supposed to be my messenger. You don't have anybody talking to you every day because I need my word to clearly come to you, go out your mouth and save that person. You are a messenger, and what a blessing it is to be humbled by God and just be the messenger for him. And I don't need to be anything more than a messenger. I don't need to be that. I thought I did. I thought I was, oh man, I deserve that. I deserve. We're here. We're here. This is all I deserve. You know what I mean? This is it. And if God wants me to just have a voice my entire life, and not just have a voice, I don't mean to play that down, but if he wants me to just have a voice, I will be that voice.
To have the voice.
Have the voice.
Have the voice.
And he did everything that he did so that message can be projected, so I could say, no, you know what? That's happened to me, so I get it. No, I've overcome that, so I get it. No, I've done that. And people always look at us. Remember we said this? People are going to look at us and be like, these guys, you know?
You remember what happened in Menino's that night?
Yeah. That was bad.
That was bad.
But yeah, people look at us and they assume we're certain, you know, we're a certain type of person. But once they get to know you, it's funny, the people who are closest to you are always like, nah, he's not that guy. Why is someone say? And then the people who aren't, they judge you right out the gate. They just judge you. And, you know, personally, I think like a person like you or some of my other friends, It's like, what a shame that you're going to judge that person, not get to know them, because that person's going to change your life.
Yeah, dude.
Or you're just blocking it until, you know, one day you realize, like, I lost out on a great person. I lost out on a great person. And sometimes that's, you know, that helps me get through fights, you know, and even in my relationship today, it's like, look at how great the person is. This means nothing.
Correct.
This is a beautiful person. This is a blessing sitting in front of me, and I'm choosing to block it because of something that means
minuscule,
nothing.
Nonsensical.
It's ego, and you got to tuck that ego aside, let God in, and just trek forward until, you know, that purpose that you have is completed, and then, you know, the next step is see you in the next world. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like, you said something about judging somebody, and the problem is, we are judged from a lot of people who know us from our past.
Sure.
And it's funny because the same people who might judge us, they're in their life trying to become better people.
Right.
So if you look at it through that lens, we're being judged for trying to do the same thing that they're doing.
Right.
Look at it like that. And that's the problem with most people. All of us, naturally, most want to get better. We want to become a better human being. We want to be more forgiving. We want to be more obedient. We want to be more loving. We want to be more grateful. We want to be more
that's true, though?
appreciative.
You think most of us want to be better?
I think innately there is a desire to be happier than most people are. What I think the problem is...
the definition of happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the definition of happiness for everybody is different, but my definition is not to be happy. I could care less about being happy. It's fleeting. If you were to buy me a new Dragon Ball Z action figure tomorrow, I'd be happy. That's only going to last...
crazy.
Yeah, I love those things. But that's only going to last me 5 minutes. What brings me true joy is peace. And now what brings me ultimate level of fulfillment and my mission in life is being impact.
Yeah.
That's what brings me true peace. If I know that I walk into the prison systems, the juvie centers, the schools, the colleges, if I'm with one of my clients and they leave 1% better than they did when I came in there, my mission, my objective, my goal in life is complete. And I say this with full sincerity, and I mean this. And not many people will understand the depth of how serious I am right now. If God took me home today, my mission in life is complete. I have been able to walk into rooms and impact people. I've been able to heal people. I've been able to love people. Most importantly, I've been able to love myself. I've been able to forgive myself. I've been able to love God. I've been able to lean on God. I've been able to go through life staring at a reflection in the mirror that I hated for so long, that I was resentful of for so long, that I can look at somebody and be proud. I can forgive all of the people who had ever done me wrong. So if I die tomorrow, maybe that book of judgment that's written on me, maybe I have followed the open path a little bit too much. I don't know if I'm getting in yet. I don't know. But I would be fine knowing that I left this earth being the impact that I have been. And that's something that I would pray for anybody. And like, if you can't get there, how dare you? How dare you waste this life that you've been blessed with? How dare you waste your struggles that you have been blessed with? How dare you waste your storms and your seasons of torment that have been sent to build you, and you're utilizing them as a foundation to break you? Sometimes the storms have to rage and the storm has to pour on you, because if you don't learn to dance in the rain, then you're never actually going to appreciate being wet in life.
Right.
Ever.
Right. Right. No, that's 100%.
I just gave myself the chills, bro. My arm is open.
Yeah, I was like, who's he? That was good. I remember my grandfather, when he passed away, there was the note in his pocket. I told you this, right?
Yeah.
He said, life's not about learning to survive the storm, but learning to dance in the rain. And I don't know who that quote was from. I know it's a famous quote.
I learned it from Gordon Ramsay, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Definitely not the guy.
Not the guy. He's putting sandwiches on people's ears, calling them idiot sandwiches.
Yeah,
Not the guy.
Yeah, you know, he thought it was a good one in there. But it's so true. And this was coming from a guy who, from an outside perspective, people would say had everything, you know. And, you know, you have a certain amount of money, you know, good for you. Yep. You know what I mean? But sometimes more money means less love, and sometimes People sacrifice love for money, and then it's always at the end of the day, isn't it? It's always on that deathbed where they're like, I wish I loved more. I wish. And it's funny how the Bible talks about God. Another name for God is love, right? Like, God is love. And people are like, I worked too hard. I missed out on life. And then you die with this big number in your bank account, and then everyone fights over it.
Yep.
And then you're sitting there like, okay, so I did it, right? Now what? You know what I mean? Now you could afford to have free time, but you never gave yourself the free time. And that's the saddest thing in the world. That's an addiction too, making money like that. But I think at the end of the day, if we could find a happy medium between finding people that care about us, people who love us, understanding our pain, understanding who we are, loving ourselves big, man. If you don't love yourself, you're never going to love anyone else.
Never.
And I don't know I truly 100% love myself. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say I love myself. You know, I have my weak moments daily. I love you too.
I love you.
But daily, you know what I mean? And that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay, because you need the people around you that love you in order to continue to love. You need someone to remind you that you're worthy of love. Right. You need people around you. And if you don't have that, and you go a whole lifetime just putting a mask on and being this party animal, putting a mask on and being this musician, this businessman, this whatever, you'll never be loved or feel that love. You know, my grandfather, I loved him with all my heart. And I don't think he felt love until the end of his life, when he saw that I was just there for him. And I truly was just there for him. And what a sad thing that you can go your entire life without feeling that. And then you realize that's all you needed. I was focusing on this, but the whole time I just wanted this. I did this so I'd get this. I did that so I'd get love. I did that so this would happen. And I mean, that's a wasted life. It's a wasted life.
I would like to say something to you. Yeah, it's coming.
Oh boy.
You know, we have a lot of conversations in private. You and I have poured into one another. And I mean, there have been times where we have just, bro, poured.
Yeah.
I love you. And I've never met another individual in my life, another man, that has made me feel more seen, more heard, more valued, more understood, more appreciated, more grateful just to be in each other's company. I've never met somebody more selfless, more generous, more handsome. I mean, you are one of the best human beings I think not only I can have as a friend, but I think that anyone could have in their life. And the relationship that you're in now, seeing the type of man that you've become and the things that you're allowing into your life now, the things that you are opening yourself up to, and knowing what you've been through and seeing how you're letting your scar tissue kind of come undone a little bit and allowing somebody else to heal certain parts of you that you thought were irrevocably, unhealable.
Sure.
You've done so much work where my prayer for you is that you genuinely don't ever have a day again where you don't love yourself, because you should understand and you should know that the type of human being that you are and the type of man that you show up as is worthy of unfathomable love.
I appreciate it. I love you too,
dog.
brother.
Yeah,
my man.
So if you had to end this episode off, how would you, what would you tell somebody?
I would just say, open that book, love yourself, don't judge others, and just continue to spread love as much as you can, whether it be yourself, whether it be a family member you're not talking to. Love your enemies. Maybe somebody you were close with that hurt you so bad. Maybe call them up and just tell them that you're sorry, that you hurt them, or that you hated them. But just love, man. And the more you spread love, the more you'll love yourself, and you'll fill that cup to the brim. And hopefully one day you'll just be ready for that next step in life, whether it be meeting, him in heaven or changing the world. And I think that's it.
We'll see you guys next week.
Will you be absolutely genuine with me? No deception, please. I want you to do something that expresses you without the slightest deception.